Your future already has the plan. You're just delaying the execution. If you knew that your future self is already living what you dream of, would you dare to ask them how they achieved it? If you knew that you don't have to guess, control, or force anything, because there's already a version of you that knows exactly where to go, would you open yourself to listening to them? This is not a book to teach you to attract the future. It's to teach you to remember it. The future is not a line that is built step by step. It's a frequency that already vibrates, that already exists, but one you haven't fully connected to yet. Because to do so, you don't need to move. You need to align. You've never felt that sudden intuition, that sensation of having already been here, that silent thought that warns or guides you and that later you discover you were right. That wasn't an accident. It was an echo of your future speaking. It was a signal that crossed the veil of time to let you know there's a faster, wiser, more yours path. But most people are so trapped in the noise, in fear, in the rush to achieve something that they can't hear. They can't even stop to feel that the future is already available. The good news is you don't need special abilities. You don't have to be a guru or have a perfect life to start listening to your future self. You just need to accept this idea. You already are who you wish to be, but you haven't remembered it yet. Change doesn't begin when you get results. It begins when you start acting from the certainty that there's already a destiny in your favor. And that destiny is not something you must desperately pursue. It's something you must tune into with your energy. Your future self doesn't speak to you with words. They speak to you with a sensation of certainty, with synchronicities you can't explain, with that internal sensation that this is it. When you learn to recognize that, your life begins to walk faster and lighter because you stop inventing the path and begin to follow one that already exists. This chapter is the door. From here on, you're not going to talk to the universe without response. Now, you're going to talk with a part of you that already crossed the bridge. In the following chapters, you're going to discover how to activate that frequency in your body, how to interpret the signals that already reach you, and how to live from an energy that makes your future seek you out, because it already knows how to arrive. Chapter 2. The atmosphere that accompanies you, the internal climate that changes your reality. Each person walks with a climate. It's not seen, but it's felt. There are those who bring a storm and others a magnetic calm, and it has nothing to do with their clothes, with their face, or with their bank account. It has to do with the emotional atmosphere they hold without knowing it. Imagine this. You enter a room, no one has spoken, but immediately you know if there was an argument or if the environment is at peace. That's condensed emotional energy, and yours goes with you everywhere. Your future is not built with isolated actions, but with the climate you carry inside each day. If you walk with fog, it doesn't matter how much you run, you're not going to see clearly. If you carry a warm sun inside, even others begin to feel it. And here's an uncomfortable truth. There are people who don't advance, not because they lack talent, but because their internal atmosphere is too dense. They demand from themselves, they criticize themselves, they worry about everything, and without knowing it, they're cultivating an emotional environment where good opportunities don't germinate. I know the case of Diego, an entrepreneur who for years jumped from project to project, each time with more urgency and less confidence, until a coach told him, "You're not looking for an idea, you're fleeing from your mistrust." And it was as if a window opened. Because Diego understood that his problem wasn't what he did, it was the climate from which he did it. Tension, haste, need for approval. He changed his way of starting the day. He began to meditate 5 minutes before opening his email. And although nothing changed outside immediately, everything changed inside, and that began to be reflected little by little in his results. Do you see? It's not about doing more, but from where you do it. Your energy is not an ornament, it's the ground where your future steps. Do you want to attract something different? Don't just ask, breathe differently, think differently, treat yourself differently. Because your future doesn't respond to your goals. It responds to your constant emotional state. That's what configures the environment where that future is going to land. And you don't need to be happy all the time. That's not real. but you can review what climate you carry with you. Is it one where everything seems difficult, or is it one where something good can always happen? Changing your internal atmosphere is the first step for your external forecast to change. In the next chapter, I'm going to tell you how to recognize the voice of your future self, the one you've often felt but ignored, and how to start distinguishing it from the voice of fear. Chapter 3. The call you ignore when your future self tries to speak to you. Sometimes you feel you had already lived something, that a decision calls you without explanation, or that something in you says, "This isn't it." Although everyone says yes, it's not imagination, it's not superstition, it's your future self trying to speak to you, from a version of you that already lived what you're now deciding. And yes, it seems strange to say it, but we've all felt that type of message, like when something makes you uncomfortable for no reason, or when an idea appears to you 3 times in a week. It's not coincidence, it's a form of contact. It's as if your consciousness were connected to a parallel timeline, and from there you could receive advice from a version of you that already crossed the bridge, that already lived what today you're building. But that call is only heard if you're in silence. Not in silence from noise, but from judgment. Look at what happened to Laura. She was about to sign a contract that seemed perfect. It was double what she earned, a recognized company, and everyone told her to accept it. But the night before signing, she couldn't sleep. Not from anxiety, but from a discomfort she couldn't explain, a premonition. A something doesn't add up. The next day, she decided not to sign. Everyone thought she had gone crazy. Months later, the company fell into a scandal, and the project she was going to lead dissolved. That decision that seemed absurd was her greatest protection. Who warned her? That internal voice that didn't shout, that only whispered, that frequency that many ignore, but that is available if you know how to listen. Your future self doesn't speak to you with words. They speak to you with hunches, with discomforts, with repetitions that insist, and you decide if you ignore it or if you recognize it. The key is in distinguishing between the voice of fear and the voice of vision. Fear always shrinks you. Vision, although uncomfortable, expands you when an idea arrives with force, when a dream doesn't let you go, when something inside you feels more real than what you have in front of your eyes. That's not madness, that's future memory wanting to manifest itself. Start paying attention, not to what the world shouts, but to what the soul repeats to you in a low voice. In the next chapter, you're going to discover how each small decision, even the simplest one, can change the complete course of your life, and how acting from a different vibration opens invisible paths. Chapter 4. The invisible decisions. How do you change your destiny without knowing it? It's not the big decision that changes your life. It's the small one, the one that seems insignificant, but that alters the entire route. Think about this. It wasn't a big choice that led Marta to have the business that today gives her freedom. It was the decision to stay 5 more minutes in a conversation, to tell someone what she did, although it wasn't the perfect moment. That person knew another, and in 3 months, Marta had her first investment. She could have left earlier, she could have said nothing, and her story would be different. What you have today is the echo of those choices. You don't see it. But each thought you hold, each time you decide if you act from fear or from possibility, you open a path or you close it. That's also talking with your future. Because when you decide from the vibration of I can't, you're rejecting routes that were already ready. And when you choose from the energy of this already belongs to me, you reorganize the field. Quantum physics explains it like this: the observer modifies the result, but not only with sight, with intention, with the internal state from which they observe. That means that if today you choose to move as if you knew that everything is aligning, the field begins to order itself according to that frequency. But if today you decide to doubt, to withdraw, to think you're not ready yet, you're also making an energetic decision, and the field responds. You don't need to know all the steps, you only need to take the next one with the energy of someone who already knows their destiny is waiting for them. From now on, each decision is a silent conversation with your future self. Each action, each word, each emotion you choose to sustain is a signal you're sending them, and they respond not with words but with opportunities that activate, with people who appear, with ideas that arrive just when you need them most. Destiny is not something that occurs, it's something you decide without knowing it, with each vibration, with each micro-choice. In the next chapter, we're going to enter into one of the most powerful secrets, how to act from the frequency of the future, although you don't see it yet, and how that can make what you desire inevitable. Are you ready to live as if you already knew? Chapter 5. Tune into the frequency of the future. Act as if you already knew. Have you ever seen someone who doesn't have the result yet, but already walks as if they had it, as if their future were already confirmed, as if they knew something others don't see yet? That's the frequency of the future. It's not arrogance, it's vibrational certainty. It's acting from the identity that already achieved what you desire, although the environment doesn't confirm it yet. And the most powerful thing is that when you hold that energy, the environment begins to change, because the field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you believe so strongly that it shows. Camilla was a freelance photographer. Each time they asked her what she did, she responded with doubt. She said she was trying to live from that, but nothing worked. Until one day, without having enough clients yet, she decided she was going to respond differently. She said out loud she was a professional photographer without excuses, and that day she met the owner of a magazine who was looking for exactly her style. Coincidence? No, it was energetic coherence. Her field changed, and what before didn't see her began to see her, acting as if you already knew. It's not pretending, it's anchoring the future in the present. It's stopping asking permission to be who you know you came to be and starting to move with the energy of someone who's already on the way. It means getting up as if your day were already an expansion, speaking as if your voice had destiny, charging as if your talent were already recognized, deciding as if your future were already waiting for you with open arms. You don't need to have everything resolved to feel secure. You need to decide you're already someone who manages to resolve it. Security doesn't arrive after the result, it arrives before and creates the result. That's the energetic trap many fall into. They wait for the world to give them signals to have faith. But the frequency of the future is activated when you give that signal first, when you act like someone who already knows everything is settling, although you have no proof. Do you want to attract what you desire? Then stop vibrating like someone who still doubts if they deserve it. Your future self already achieved it. You only have to reach them emotionally. And each action from that coherence is a step that shortens the distance. In the following chapter, we're going to break one of the hardest barriers, doubt, that silent sabotage that turns off your signal, and how to free yourself from it to keep moving forward as if you already knew. Chapter 6. Doubts that turn off the future. How to take power away from uncertainty. To doubt is not to reflect, it's to disconnect, because each time you doubt what you desire, you push it away a little more. Not because the desire changes, but because you stop being available. Uncertainty is not the problem. The problem is that instead of observing it, you convert it into identity and you act from fear, as if your future self didn't know how to resolve everything. Fear contaminates the signal, and when that signal distorts, you're no longer talking with your destiny, you're talking with your past. That's why many people sabotage themselves just when they were about to achieve it, because they can't stand not having control and prefer to go back to what's known, although it hurts, although it no longer fits. Look at the case of Vera Wang before becoming one of the most successful designers in the world. She was a figure skater, then a journalist, then a fashion editor. She was 40 years old when she decided she would start from scratch with her dress brand. Many thought it was late. She also thought so. For years she doubted herself, but something changed when she stopped asking herself, what if it doesn't work? And began asking herself, what if this is exactly for me? That single question was enough to move the energy. And today her name is tattooed in the history of haute couture. There's also the example of Howard Schultz, creator of Starbucks. He worked as a coffee maker salesman, and one day he entered a small coffee shop. He had a vision. He visualized a future full of people conversing in a cozy place where coffee was more than a drink. It was an experience, but his boss didn't believe in the idea. Schultz was afraid. He doubted himself. He let the moment pass, but the memory didn't leave him in peace. Years later, he sold everything, went into debt, and bought that store. He built his vision without certainties, only with a vibrational direction he couldn't ignore anymore. These stories are not of people with special powers. They're people who also doubted, but learned not to stay there, because doubting is not the problem. The problem is parking in doubt and turning off the ET connection with your future self just when you were about to tune into them. You've also been about to achieve it many times and you know it, but perhaps you lacked holding the frequency a little more, a few more days, one more attempt. And that's not trained with force, it's trained with vision. When doubt visits you, don't fight against it. Observe it, feel it, and ask it, what part of me doesn't believe this is possible? Because there's the key. It's not the desire that's missing, it's the certainty. Your future self doesn't need explanations. They already know you're going to achieve it. They only need you to stop thinking like someone who's still trying and start walking like someone who's already arriving. In the next chapter, you'll discover how your life speaks to you through patterns, signals, and repetitions, because what seems like a coincidence can be the clearest message your destiny has tried to give you. Chapter 7. The Map. It's already in you recognizing the messages that repeat. Steve Jobs said you can't connect the dots looking forward. Only when you look back does everything make sense. But those dots were always there, waiting for you to see them. That's how signals are. They appear as coincidences, as small intuitions, as phrases that repeat in different mouths until one day you understand everything was a map written from your future. In 1974, Steve Jobs dropped out of college. He wasn't clear what he wanted to do. He only knew that what he was studying wasn't for him. But instead of stopping learning, he got into classes that made no sense for his professional path, like calligraphy. A decade later, when he designed the first Macintosh, that knowledge about letter types and aesthetics made it the first computer with elegant typefaces, something that seemed useless in the past, ended up being key for the future. And what if that class wasn't a coincidence? What if that interest in calligraphy was a signal? Sometimes strange tastes, phrases that obsess you, mistakes that push you to another path are not distractions, they're directions. The future self doesn't always speak with words. They speak with patterns that repeat, with dreams that return, with people who seem to arrive for nothing but bring a piece that was missing. Think about this. How many times have you felt that a song follows you? That someone mentions exactly the topic you were thinking about? That the same idea appears in books, on networks, in conversations? They're not coincidences, they're resonances. When something repeats, pay attention. It's your future self pushing an idea you still don't understand, but that tomorrow will be part of your new life. To begin reading that map, keep a record. Write everything that repeats, although it doesn't seem logical. Names, places, words, even dreams. Do it for 21 days, and at the end, look at the connections. You'll see they weren't dispersed messages. They were perfectly aligned clues, but ignored by living on. Autopilot. Your future already left signals. It has done so all the time. It's just missing for you to be present to receive them. And when you do, you're going to feel it. An internal certainty that doesn't shout. But that's not mistaken. In the following chapter, we're going to activate one of the most powerful techniques to align yourself with that certainty. Simulate the memory of the future. Because if you've already stopped ignoring the signals, it's time to use them as a starting point for a new interior design. One in which you don't wait for reality to give you permission, but you begin to live from the version that already achieved what you desire today. Chapter 8. Simulate to remember the technique of the journal from the future. There's a way to speak with your future self, without needing to meditate, without rituals, without waiting for a magical signal, simply writing as if you had already arrived. This technique is not a game. It's a way to program your mind so it believes and by believing creates. They call it journaling, written visualization, quantum reprogramming, but in essence it's an act of anticipated memory. You write from the self that already achieved what today you long for. You use the language of the one who's already there, not of the one who still doubts. And that confuses your nervous system. It makes it think it already happened, and when the body believes, the vibration changes. I want to tell you the case of Will Smith. Yes, the actor. But before being famous, he and his brother slept in a room without windows, in a complicated neighborhood, and his father, a tough man, demanded extreme discipline from them. Will tells in several interviews that from 16 years old he wrote how his life would be, the awards he would win, the countries he would visit, the type of movies he would star in. He even wrote the amounts he would charge for each movie, with detail, with certainty, as if it had already happened. And one day all that began to happen. It's not magic, it's focus. The human mind doesn't know how to differentiate between what's lived and what's intensely imagined. And that becomes an advantage if you know how to use it in your favor. That's why, by writing from your future self, you activate parts of the brain that begin to search for external coherence, and you begin to make decisions, speak and behave like someone who already is, not like someone who still waits. Take the test, take a notebook, and write a complete page as if it were already the future. Start like this. Today, I woke up in peace. The decisions I made months ago brought me here. I feel at home. My bank account reflects the value I've learned to hold internally. The people I share with vibrate at the same frequency. I'm grateful for having trusted when nothing seemed to move. Don't do it once. Do it every day, even if you don't fully believe it, because repetition creates familiarity, and what becomes familiar becomes possible. Your future self already has clear what they lived to get there. And by writing from their perspective, you begin to remember something that hasn't happened yet. But that's already available. In the next chapter, I'll teach you how to create a true encounter with that part of you through a practice of deep connection where you're going to be able to speak with your future, ask them for direction, and receive answers that don't come from thought, but from your highest consciousness. Chapter 9. Meeting with your future. Meditation to ask them for direction. The answer you're looking for is already in you, but not in the you of today, but in that self that already lived the process, that already made the right decisions, that already crossed the storms and arrived at a clearer place. And the best of all is you can speak with them. It's not about imagination without purpose, nor about inventing fantasies to distract yourself. This technique is a real method to receive emotional and mental guidance from your wisest part, the one that's already ahead in the timeline. Because if you accept that the future exists as possibility, you can also accept that your future self can give you direction. High-performance athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists have done it without calling it that, but connecting with a version of themselves more confident, clearer, more secure, and then acting as if that version were guiding them. Winfrey, for example, has told that many of her most important decisions she made after sitting in silence, asking herself from the soul, and waiting for something inside to respond. That voice that responded wasn't that of fear, nor that of the logical mind. It was the voice of the future. This practice is an active meditation, but simple. You don't need complex techniques. You only need a moment of silence and the willingness to ask from the heart. Begin by closing your eyes. Breathe deeply 3 times and visualize yourself in 5 years in your best version, with peace, with abundance, with healthy relationships, living your purpose and holding everything naturally. Observe yourself in that place. Feel how your energy looks, how it moves, how it speaks, how it thinks, and then ask them a single question: what did I do to get here? Then keep silent and allow an image, a phrase, a sensation to appear. It may arrive quickly, it may not arrive today, but it will arrive because by connecting with your future self, you open a communication pathway that was always there. Only you weren't listening. Do it several times per week and start noticing how your decisions change, how certain opportunities seem to align, how some people move away on their own and other new ones arrive, as if your future were organizing your present. This meeting with your future is not just a nice moment. It's an anchor, a way to calibrate your path. You're not alone. There's a part of you that already knows how to arrive. You only have to allow them to guide you. In the next chapter, we're going to close this journey with a revelation that completely changes your way of seeing time, because the future is not a goal, it's a dormant memory waiting to be remembered. Chapter 10. The Path That Begins. Today, your future is not a goal, it's a memory awakening. All this time you thought the future was a goal, a distant place, something you had to build with effort, sacrifice, and time. But now you know something you can't forget. The future is not built, it's remembered. Your future self already exists, already lived what you're barely going to decide, already made mistakes, already chose differently, already saw what you can't see from here. And all that is available to you as soon as you stop running and start listening. This is not a nice metaphor, it's an energetic truth. You're not starting from zero, you're returning to what already belongs to you. But you can only reach it when you act with coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions vibrate in the same direction. Do you want to know why the answers don't arrive? Because you're asking from anxiety, from lack, from fear. But your future doesn't respond to that. It responds to calm, to certainty, to the anticipated gratitude of someone who already knows they're walking toward their place. Always remember this: if the present is full of doubt, the future becomes fog. But if today you align yourself with clarity, action, and confidence, the future becomes inevitable. You decide if each day will be a repetition or an update, if you're going to keep reproducing what you already know, or if you dare to live from the memory of someone who already arrived. Because the most powerful thing is not to create a future from emptiness, it's to awaken the memory of one that already was and walk toward it without resistance. And if this message moved something in you, if at some moment you felt this was for you, don't let it go. Share this book with someone you know needs it, and go deeper with the other audiobooks in this series, like The Energy of the Observer, where you'll discover how your attention modifies your reality, or The 7 Laws of the Rich Wizard, to learn to attract without asking and receive without fighting, or even The Law of the Broken Mirror, to stop repeating old images that no longer represent you. But above all, speak with your future. If this resonated with you and you want to continue discovering how to transform your reality and connect with your highest potential, subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any content that will help you remember who you truly are and activate the future that's already waiting for you. Your transformation begins now, and I want to be part of your journey. Subscribe and let's keep growing together.